So hello students, let's start our discussion about this weekly current affairs in which we will be covering all the major news which we could not cover in our daily current affairs. Now, the first news is related to this Startup India initiative. Now we all must have heard about Startup India so many times. But how is it doing? When was it started? Has it achieved something substantial? And what all we should learn or what all we need to do about this Startup India initiative is something we have to discuss today. Now this initiative, Startup India, it was brought by Government of India in the year 2016. And the recent report, this Future Unicorn report, has brought our attention towards these startups. Now when you say the word unicorn, unicorn means any private startup which has its valuation above 1 billion US dollars. That means it has become a big company. It's a startup, but it has become a big one. Such a startup is termed as unicorn. And right now in India, we have total 118 unicorns. Now this is a major news which you need to understand. In the year 2014, we only had 4 unicorns. And in the year 2016, we brought Startup India initiative. And this is the result of this Startup India initiative, that after almost 10 years, when we see the result in 2025, we have total 118 unicorns. So this brings our attention to this Startup India initiative. It seems to be quite successful to some extent for sure. Now, how Startup India transformed the innovation ecosystem in India, because it has given importance to innovation. So we see government brought something called digital public infrastructure. Now under digital public infrastructure, government is trying to provide few things or few technological innovations free of cost to people, and they are providing the infrastructure. See, just like you make infrastructure in terms of road, which will be used by everyone, and then other trades, other business activities start over there. Similarly, you create some kind of public infrastructure in digital sphere. For example, we have this UPI system. It's an infrastructure provided by government, and now businesses are using it for the cashless transaction that they can do in real time. Or we have this Aadhaar system, BharatNet system, Digital India. All these have provided this kind of digital public infrastructure. Now, what this has done is, it has reduced the barriers for all those businesses, the startups who wanted to enter into the online sphere. Let's say someone wants to start an e-commerce business. For that, they have to make online payments. Now, for making online payments, this UPI becomes handy. It becomes very easier, and the cost of the company gets reduced to a good extent because of these infrastructures. Okay, this is one thing. Second, funding support. So we have brought some schemes. For example, this fund of funds for startups, credit guarantee schemes. Under such schemes, government has tried to provide some kind of funds to the startups. Now it could include the seed funding, it could be the early time, or whenever someone comes up with some concept, they will be providing some funding for proving the concept or just providing some prototype of it. So such schemes were brought in. Then government has gone for some reforms, especially in terms of ease of doing business, to ensure that the environment and ecosystem in India becomes business friendly. So for example, we started with this system called single window clearance. Earlier, if you want to start a restaurant or if you want to start one business, you will need so many different documents. Now for that, you had to reach out to different departments of the government. Now what we are doing is single window clearance. Just come to one place, just give your documents over there, everything will be done at the same place. This is one example. Or online approval process. Earlier you had to physically visit so many different offices, time-taking process. Now through this, you have made the task easier for anyone who wants to set up business. So time is saved for that person, cost is saved for that person. Okay. Then unicorn part I've already discussed, 118 we have right now. Then we have a diversified ecosystem overall. You see, for example, there we have fintech companies, financial companies getting into the technological part. So UPI has made it easier for these fintech companies to grow. Or we have space tech also. In space technology, where this virtual part gets entered. So there also we see some of these startups coming into picture. Right now more than 300 startups have got benefit of the reforms government has brought in. Then we have something called defense tech. So government brought some schemes like this IDEX, Innovation for Defense Excellence, Aditi. And with these schemes, these startups are benefiting to a good extent. Government is even saying that now government wants to buy as much as it's whatever government needs. When they're buying some components or anything, they will give preference to Indian startups. And that's how Indian startups will be performing better, is what we can say. Okay, if you see the data, 12 lakh plus direct jobs have been created because of this startup, or millions of people have got indirect benefit because of these startups. All these things show that yes, Startup India has been a good success for us. Now, basic facts which you should know. When this initiative was brought in, the real aim was to foster entrepreneurship, drive innovation-led growth. Growth has to be there, but innovation-led. And someone will do innovation when you provide such an ecosystem to them. And one idea was to create more jobs as much as possible. Initially, government said we'll provide some tax benefit, we'll make all the procedures easier for anyone who wants to set up business. So this compliance part was made easier. And also, we will somehow help you in getting the funding, because startups need funding. All this was said when this Startup India initiative came into picture. Now under this initiative, there are different other initiatives. For example, this scheme, Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, Credit Guarantee Scheme, Startup Intellectual Property Protection. All these are part of this overall major scheme. Okay, we can see how the growth has taken place. Or see, startups grew from 500 to 1.59 lakh. Can you imagine, right now in India, around 1.6 lakh startups are there at present moment. And reports suggest that India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the entire world. Now, when we look at all these facts, all these things, it seems Startup India is doing really good. But it doesn't mean that we should always just think about the positive side and not see any challenges that we are facing at this particular moment. So you look at some challenges which India's startups are presently facing. Number one thing is the funding issue, especially in tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 cities. As far as tier 1 cities are concerned, they are doing good. We're not finding much problem to the startups in tier 1 cities. But the moment you reach to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, there people struggle for funding. They're not getting enough funding, enough amount of money. And rather, if we see the data, 2024 data and 2024 August data, this is July and August, numbers are falling. So that means somewhere now government needs to focus on tier 2, tier 3 cities. This is one thing we can understand from this particular part. Then we have some regulatory complexities. Even though we have carried out some good reforms, still we are saying we need to check that there are some legal ambiguities which are still there, some compliance burden which is still there. For example, this act, Motor Vehicle Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, in that some complexities are there, and government needs to simplify them and bring things or make things easier or simpler for people. That's where we need to work. Then one particular fact that is highly important is this growth challenge. And this is most important fact which you need to focus on. That 90% of the startups, they fail within the 5 years of coming into existence. Now this is a major problem. You created startup, but within 5 years it cannot sustain and it will get vanished with time. Now this is one major challenge wherein we have to think about it, why this is happening. Is it the problem in the concept, or is it some problem in the way we are working with respect to the startups? We find that this problem with respect to scaling and operations. For scaling and operations, for both, funding is needed. Sometimes funding could be a major hurdle. Okay? And last is this market saturation. Sometimes what happens in one particular segment, so many companies are established. Because of this, market gets saturated. You don't need so many players. Let's say there's one area where students of 12th standards are there and some coachings are established. Now if there are 5-6 coachings, these many students, for them 4-5 coachings are more than enough. But let's say instead of 4-5, there are 50 coaching institutes over there. Market will get saturated. You cannot see much growth in any of the institute because you have saturated it too much. So similar thing we have observed, especially with respect to these edtech firms, right? Edtech firms quite common nowadays, and you see intense competition in edtech firms. Reason being the saturation of the market. Okay, so all these things shows that our startups are still facing many challenges on which government needs to take some actions for sure. Okay, so what all measures we can take as a solution, as a way forward? Number one thing we can do is we can bring or we can provide tax benefit. We can extend the tax benefit for more or for a longer duration. For example, right now it is for 3 years, make it for 5 years. That could be one way. Then those companies who are involved in the deep technology or any emerging technology, if there is a startup in that field, so we should provide tax benefit for a long time. That means government will not charge them anything for a substantial period. That will act as a big incentive for these startups. Okay. Now, this is not something we are suggesting only for India. Many countries have been doing this. We observed that. For example, Israel, what they did is for technology firms, they said corporate tax will be only 12%, not more than that. Now, such examples show us that something we can also do. Then, boost market access. What we can do is reserve the quota of government procurement for startups. Government is buying so many things. When they are procuring or buying something, make a quota that we will buy the stuffs. Let's say 50% of our components will come only from startups. Now this gives more incentive to startups, right? Then decentralized ecosystem. As we said, tier 2 and tier 3 cities are not doing good. One of the solutions could be you go for something called hub and spoke model, wherein what you do is when your tier 1 city is performing really good, make it the hub, and all those tier 2, tier 3 cities, let them act like your subordinates. Connect all of them with this main hub. Just like, let's say, Hyderabad as a city will be acting as the main hub, and nearby cities will act as the spokes or their subordinates. Connectivity has to be there, or connection has to be there. And with this model, we can ensure a decentralized ecosystem getting created. Okay? Then we can focus on skill development. Already India has some initiatives like this Skill India mission, under which so many other programs are being run by government focusing on the skill part. So this skill part will also have some benefit on the Startup India initiative, because if we focus specifically on these emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, IoT, if people are trained in this, they have skill set, then only they will be able to help any startup make a good product as such, whatever they wish to make. Okay? So all these could be good measures that we can take. As a conclusion, we can say this Startup India initiative, it's a civilizational reset of confidence. Confidence, why I'm saying is, just imagine what India was and what India is, and there is so much difference. 1945-46 time, just imagine what was India, right now what it is. Or in last 10-20 years, the growth that we have seen. Startup India initiative has shown that in just 10 years, if we can change things to this extent, then we have a great future ahead if we keep on doing this thing. Okay, that's why we are saying it's a civilizational reset of confidence, that we are gaining our confidence back. Okay, from job seeker to job creator economy, we are trying to make India. And if we sustain this growth, what we need is these things: extended tax support, funding, market access, skilling in the emerging technologies, and decentralized innovation tools, innovation hubs. Through all this, we can certainly ensure a really good growth pattern for India. Okay, so this was a very good article, especially from the perspective of mains. There can be a direct question on Startup India, its success, its achievements, and the challenges. This can be asked directly in the mains paper. So you should be very much ready with the content for this. Okay. Now, moving ahead. The second news is about positioning India in global power dynamics. Now, this article is specifically with respect to the present day geopolitics and power play that is happening at the international level. Now, we all know USA is the superpower, China is becoming superpower or almost near to that, right? India says we have the ambition of becoming great power. We have the ambition of becoming great power. We're not using word superpower, we're using great power. Right now, we are still not that great power. We are great power in making. We are almost near to that. So, what all we need to understand is, India is right now the world's fastest growing economy. And we have this aspiration of becoming great power. But some critics, they say that we have a very weak strategic capacity and we have very limited global influence. A great power is a power which has substantial influence, and we do not have that, is somewhat some people are saying. Some people even compare, let's say if we compare the defense budget of India with that of China or USA, we are at very less. USA is the top defense spender, or defense expenditure of USA is the highest in the entire world. You see China, 314 billion. We are nowhere near to them. We're not even crossing $100 billion mark. We're nowhere near. So how can you say that you're a great power is the question people are raising. So let's analyze it completely, where we are standing and what all we need to do to achieve that particular status. First of all, what are the constraints hindering India's global role? What is stopping India from becoming this great power? Number one, ambition capacity gap. We have a lot of ambition, but reality or the capacity is little low. For example, I talked about this defense spending. 86 billion US dollars is something we are spending right now. Compare it with China. China is having almost more than 3 times of what we are spending on defense. So ambition is there, but capacity is lacking. Or India right now is the largest arms importer in the world. 9.5%, approximately 10% of the global defense import, not export, import is done only by India. That shows we are so much dependent on the other world. We're so much dependent on other countries for our defense import. We're not doing it on our own. This heavy dependence is a problem. A great power or a superpower is not dependent on others. They themselves are capable. And our dependence is on this defense part. Our dependence is also on this global supply chain. For example, for electronics, for energy like this petroleum products, etc. We are dependent on global supply chain. If the global supply chain gets disrupted, then we will be in a big problem for sure. Okay? This is a major problem. Second, there's something called strategic ambiguity that we show. We don't show what is our stance. A great power or a superpower makes their stance very clear. You see, there's this Russia-Ukraine conflict going on. India is saying we are neutral. We're not taking any side. Or India is saying we are part of Quad also and we are part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization also. One led by USA, one led by China. And we're not taking any stance here also. So many countries or many people, they say that India is not making its stance clear. That shows India is not a reliable partner. If someone is going for a long-term strategic partnership with India, is this country reliable or not? That is a question mark on people or countries. Because when we will actually need you, when let's say there's a conflict, let's say you say you are partner of USA and USA is in conflict, will you come and help USA in that particular crisis time? That's where reliability question is there. So strategic ambiguity, that is one problem. Third, human development deficit. If you see human development index ranking, India stands at 130 out of 193 countries. That's very poor. Very poor. Compare China, compare USA, we are not even close, we are way far. Okay, that's a major problem. Specifically, if we see this inequality adjusted HDI, the number is 0.475, which shows there is so much high inequality that exists in India. When internally there is so much inequality, that means internally the country cannot be very strong as such. Then, economic power versus per capita weakness. We say that we are one of the top economy. We are becoming, let's say, right now we are the fourth largest economy, and maybe in few years we will become third largest economy. We are saying this thing. What about per capita income, per person income? How much are every Indian is earning? How much they are earning? It is just 2,711 US dollars. So if we go by this logic, we are not performing that well. By the logic of per capita income, we are at 144 out of 196 countries in nominal terms, and in PPP terms 127. That's not a good thing. That's a sign of a developing country, a poor country as such, not a developed country sign. Okay? Then there's a gap in terms of technology. You see, this Global Innovation Index 2024 said that in terms of technology or innovation, India is at 39th position and China is at 11th position, USA at 3rd position. We are not yet close. And when it comes to semiconductors, quantum computing, biotechnology, these are emerging segments right now. We are nowhere at a good position as such. We are very weak in semiconductor, quantum computing, biotech. We need to work a lot, right? The last thing is internal social fault lines. Internally also we say that India is not at a good position because, for example, this freedom of press index, if you see 159, that shows intolerance developing in the country, or regional inequality exists in different states. One state growing a lot, other state not growing a lot. Developmental deficit is there in some states. That shows that internally also there are so many fault lines that are existing in India. Okay? Now, foundations supporting India's aspirations. Now, whatever we discussed till now is the bad side of India or bad side of Indian power structure or power system. Now see what can act as good thing or what can be used in a good way. So if you see the demographic strength of India and economic strength, we are growing with this rate of 6 to 7% every year. If we keep on growing this way, after 10-15 years we have a bright future for sure. This is good thing. We are going to become third largest economy by 2030. Just carry out this same 6 to 7% of growth rate. By 2030 automatically will become third largest economy. And if you see the demography, our median age is somewhere around 28.2 years. Median means if you take the average of our population, what is the age? Average age, that's around 28.2. That means India is very young. We have a lot of potential to grow. If these people have got health, education and the skill, they will do a lot of economic activities and we will continue growing. That's a good thing. Okay, this is where we are better positioned than USA or China. Okay. Second thing, geopolitical significance. India's location is important. India's location, we call it a strategic location in Asia. We control the Indian Ocean, especially the checkpoints or what we call as choke points of this Indian Ocean. Let's say this Strait of Hormuz is quite near to us, Strait of Malacca is quite near to us, Andaman Nicobar area is in control of us. So we have control or some dominance in the region. Then we are part of Quad, SCO, BRICS, ASEAN, SAFTA. That brings India's influence to some extent in the world. And we are considered to be leader of South Asia. Right now at least, and which obviously this China doesn't want India to grow much, but we are considered to be the leader, especially in South Asia region. Now these are geopolitically good things. As far as technology and defense potential is concerned, potential we are talking about, if we do rightly, we can achieve that potential. So digital leadership, this UPI, unicorn, all these things have shown that we are capable of making so many good things. Space mission like this Chandrayaan 3, Mangalyaan, then we are planning so many other missions right now. This shows our capability. We can grow our, like the space sector can grow substantially. Indigenous defense technology we are working on. We are making this nuclear submarine INS Arihant, Tejas fighter planes. This also showed that in defense we are doing good, we can do good. And second largest active military personnel we have throughout world, whoever Indian military is present. So after China, we are at the second number when it comes to number of personnel, active military personnel. This also shows that we have potential and strength to move ahead. Last is our soft power and strategic autonomy. India has a legacy of non-alignment movement, that we say that we don't align with any side. We have our own side. We push for United Nations Security Council reforms very strongly. No other country is pushing that strongly the way with which India is trying to push it. We have a global diaspora of 30 million people around the world. And we have some soft power because of these things like this yoga, cinema, or climate diplomacy that we are carrying out. We get a lot of support, or the soft power we have. Okay, all these things act in a positive way in terms of bringing India's status or profile in the global stage. Okay, now what can be our strategy for navigating global dynamics? What we can do to make India this global power, or this what we call as the great power? First, focus on domestic foundations. Invest in health, education, skill, infrastructure. Bring out some reforms. Let's say reform in judiciary, police, governance, whatever is needed. Carry out all these things. Automatically you will see substantial growth because of that. Then clear strategic communication is needed. Promote democracy with diversity, growth with inclusion. If the growth is not having inclusion in it, we say these things so many times, that we need inclusive growth. That when the growth is just for some sectors or some people, that's not the real growth. Okay, that's where we need to work on. We can project India as a civilizational state, blending the heritage and innovation. Heritage, because we are a civilization. Innovation is focusing on the present time or present day technologies, our modernity. Okay, so we can bring tradition and modernity together. Then we can go for balanced partnership. We need to have stronger ties with United States. It's a superpower. We have so much interest with USA, economically, security wise, and many other dimensions. US is important. We have to maintain our defense partnership with Russia because we can rely on Russia to a good extent. Then as far as China is concerned, we should go for pragmatic engagement in multilateral forums. Wherever we have to counter US hegemony or Western hegemony, there we need to have China with us. So we should go for that and prefer issue-based coalition rather than having just one fixed partner. On particular issues, we will decide whether we are with USA or with China. Like for example, climate change issue is there, we'll stand with China. Okay, so that's how we have to go for balanced kind of partnerships. Last thing, we need to leverage technology and the soft power. We have to put in efforts to become a leader in artificial intelligence, digital public goods, climate, good health, etc. And we have to use this technology, data, ideas in a good way. You have to use it, influence it, or bring influence in all these aspects. And through this, because this is part of your soft power, through this soft power, you can further grow. Although we have to focus on hard power also, but soft power too. Okay? So in conclusion, we can say India's rise from the famine to the food security, non-alignment to balancing powers, from industrial laggard to digital innovator, this has been phenomenal. And that's something we need to focus on, and we need to have hope for a good future. And India is positioning itself as the main leader to bring multipolar world order, which is in the interest of India, and we want to go ahead with it. Okay, so that's all about this particular article. Very good article specifically, and this can be a direct mains questions for you. That how do you look at India's position in global power dynamics? Comment. This could be a direct question in international relations. Now next one is conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. You see, this is the Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. And if you see, so many countries it shares borders with. There was some problem over here. So Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is over here. They were having some conflict, and USA has brokered or did some negotiation and brokered a peace agreement between these two countries. One thing. Second thing is, this Democratic Republic of Congo and this M23, there are some rebel groups, and they have gone for this movement called M23, March 23 movement. These rebel groups were having problem with the government of Democratic Republic of Congo, and there also some peace has been brought, or some ceasefire has been brought with the mediation of Qatar. Because of these two reasons, this Democratic Republic of Congo is in news. Okay, and we should be aware of this particular country. First of all, this country is Africa's second largest country, and if you see its borders, we said so many countries are there with whom this country is sharing borders, like Angola, Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, South Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Zambia. Okay, then on the western side, it is some way sharing border with the Atlantic Ocean, is what we can clearly see. Then these are the conflict zones which we can read. Capital is Kinshasa, which is on the Congo River. These are basic facts we all must know. First thing. Then if we look at its geography, so this country has got one plateau called as Katanga Plateau, quite famous Katanga Plateau. And this Katanga Plateau is full of minerals like cobalt, copper, tin, uranium, diamonds. So many countries around the world will be certainly interested in this Katanga Plateau or going for some kind of mining in this country. Then this Congo River is only African river to cross the equator twice. That's a very important fact we should know. Then they have got this rainforest, lowland rainforest, world's second largest tropical forest we call it, which is there in this Congo River basin. Then savanna region is also there in the central part of this Congo River basin. There you will find some savanna region. So you see, tropical forest is also there, and savanna kind of forest is also there. Then some major lakes, just for your reading, this you can read, and some volcanic features of this mountain, specifically this Mount Nyiragongo. Quite important. These are factual stuffs you have to read, because this country is in news so much, so we can expect some kind of question, especially in prelims. So these factual parts are important for you. Okay. Now next news is related to Project Cheetah. Just give me 1 second. Okay, let's continue. Project Cheetah and Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. You see, cheetah once used to be there in India, but after some time we got to know it has got extinct. In last 70 years, actually we did not have any kind of cheetah species living in India, but then government decided that we will reintroduce cheetah in India. So they found out that in some of the African countries, because the environment in some part of India or the biodiversity that is needed for cheetahs to exist, it was very similar to that of these some of these African countries. So we said that we will translocate, we will bring some cheetahs from these countries like Namibia or South Africa. From there we will take one cheetah and introduce it in India, in one of the national parks in India. We will observe if the cheetah can survive. If it survives, that means we can translocate. And because of cheetah being an important species, we can say that the entire ecosystem will continue to grow, it will not collapse. So that was one of the ideas. So we reintroduced cheetah in India. Now this recent news is about Madhya Pradesh, in which we are again introducing female cheetah in Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now this is the second time things are happening, because earlier also we did the same thing in terms of Kuno National Park, where we had introduced cheetah in this national park. Okay, and all this happened under this project called as Project Cheetah. Just like Project Tiger, we have Project Cheetah. So you should know about this Project Cheetah. We started this program in the year 2022 so that we can reintroduce cheetah in India. That was the objective. See, already it has got extinct. After that, this program came into picture. We say this is the world's first intercontinental wild carnivore translocation project. Before this, no country has gone for intercontinental. See, from one country to other country it might have happened, but from one continent, from Africa to Asia, this kind of translocation of any carnivorous wild animal has never happened. This is the first project in entire world. Okay, now this Project Cheetah operates just like Project Tiger. So we have a plan. Just like for Project Tiger, we have an action plan. What all action has to be taken, step by step, what needs to be done. Every plan is available. Similar to that, we have Cheetah action plan. Now, how we are implementing it? Objective part is you can easily understand what we are trying to do. Implementation is quite important. Here we already have this National Tiger Conservation Authority, which works under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Obviously, this authority was created under Project Tiger. We're using the same authority to protect or to bring this cheetah, introduce it and then make it survive. So we're using the same. We don't have a special different authority for cheetah as such. Same National Tiger Conservation Authority is being used. So this authority will work in collaboration with Madhya Pradesh Forest Department and Wildlife Institute of India. You understand, National Tiger Conservation Authority comes under central government, this ministry. Then you have state government's role, Forest Department and Wildlife Institute of India. All three will collaborate for this Project Cheetah. Clear? So they have made this committee also, steering committee, Cheetah Project Steering Committee, which supervises all the plan, whether the implementation is happening rightly or not. They're going to evaluate everything. Okay, now look at the achievement till now. We brought it in the year 2022. Now we are checking by 2025 what is our achievement with respect to Project Cheetah. Number one, 8 cheetahs were brought from Namibia and 12 cheetahs were brought from South Africa, and they were introduced in this Kuno National Park. This was the first thing we did. Second one we are doing right now in terms of Madhya Pradesh. Now these cheetahs have exhibited natural wild behavior. One of the major concern was, if we introduce them in India, will this cheetah able to survive over here? Can it show the same wild behavior which it was showing in South Africa or Namibia? That was one of the concerns, and they are showing it. That means the project is quite successful now. And we also got one cub, this first cheetah cub born in India after 75 years. So it's a very good news. So things will continue like this further. So this is a good thing we can say. We also created this cheetah mitras. So just like we have this snake mitras, we have cheetah mitras also, so that they act as a bridge between the local population in an area, people, and this wild animal species, so that they reduce the conflict between animal and man, and we can ensure that they educate the local population also. Okay, so this is a good project, that is this Project Cheetah, we can say. Clear? You can ask if you have any doubts. I'll just check the online comment box. No doubts as such till now? Okay, no problem. Now further moving, this Manki Munda system is in news. Manki Munda system and Ho tribe. Now you see, Ho is a major tribal group existing in India. You should be aware of it. Now we are talking about this news coming from the state of Jharkhand. In Jharkhand there is a region called as Kolhan region. So what happened over here is there is some kind of conflict happening because of administrative interference in the Manki Munda self-governance system. You see, tribals have their own system sometimes. They govern themselves, they have their own customs, traditions, they have their own social or political system also. And when India's administration or state administration tries to interfere in their governance mechanism, many times we have seen that tribals do not like that. Something similar has happened over here in case of this Ho tribe. So there's something called Manki Munda system which is existing since a long time. Even if you go back to the British time period, even at that time this system was existing. So this Ho tribe, they have this system for their, it acts as a self-governance system, like some kind of Gram Panchayat you call it, or something like that, some self-governance system. In that, this Munda tribe, this people, one person called as Munda, he will act as the head of each village. Let's say in one village there is some kind of dispute between 2 people, 3 people or whatever. That dispute will be solved by this person called as Munda. He will be head of that one village. I'm just talking about one village. He's head of that village. He will solve all the matters, all the disputes. Now, in case there are 5, 6, 7, 8, let's say 10 villages involved, in that case, Munda will not take care of it. There will be a body above it called as Manki. Manki is head of group of 8 to 15 villages. Villages are called PID. So, group of 8 to 15 villages, and for that entire group, we will have this thing called as Manki. He will be the head. And this Manki will handle all the problems. Let's say you could not solve the problem at the level of your village, at the level of Munda, then you will reach to Manki. So this is very interesting kind of system that we can see in this tribal group called Ho. It's a decentralized socio-political system that exists over here. Now you need to understand, they're just resolving conflicts, acting as if like an executive body just taking care of disputes, or a judiciary kind of body. But they are not completely self-governing as such with respect to the political system. That means they are not collecting tax or revenue as such, they are not managing land as such. That is still done by the government. Okay? Now, if you see the history, when British Raj was there, when Britishers had gone for this Battle of Plassey, Battle of Buxar, after that they got this Diwani rights of the region. Let's say the Bengal region or this Jharkhand region was also part of the Bengal to some extent. So they got Diwani rights, they got the revenue rights in the region. After that they have gone for this program called as permanent settlement, and here Zamindars took over the lands which was hold, or which people of Ho tribe were having. So Ho tribal people were living earlier also. But now, because of this permanent settlement system, Zamindars became the owners of the land, which earlier tribals were there. And see, tribals were holding the land as a community. Let's say this is the entire land in which, let's say, 15 people are living. It's not like there is any land belonging to one person or the other, like this private property concept that we have right now. Tribals used to hold the land in common. There was nothing called private property concept at that time. But because of this permanent settlement system, now we see later on introduction of this private property concept. When Zamindars seized the land, that led to a revolt. Ho revolt of 1821-22 and Kol revolt of 1831. When Zamindars took over this land, we saw such kind of revolt from the tribal side. Later on, the British government came up with this Captain Thomas Wilkinson. He tried to codify the system and it is named as Wilkinson's rules. And what they did is they formally recognized this Manki Munda system. They said Mundas and Mankis will be integrated in the British administration, or what we call today as colonial administration. Okay, but one thing for sure already happened, that is, earlier they were having collective land holding. Now came the private property concept, and with this private property concept coming into picture, some outsiders who were not living in this tribal area, some outsiders came and they took over the land. These outsiders are sometimes called as Dikkus, and tribal people hate them a lot. They have problem with these outsiders. That's the reason even today you see, whenever Indian government tries to make any reforms or tries to bring in something for the tribal community, or they are providing this right to free movement for everyone, tribal people say we don't want outsiders in our area. This is the history which makes them little apprehensive towards any outsider coming in their region. Okay. Now, after the independence, these Wilkinson's rules have continued in this Kolhan region of Jharkhand, and courts have recognized that customary practices are important. They give importance to customary practices of Ho tribe, but they say this is not a law. When you say this Manki Munda system is existing, they will call it as a part of their customs, and it is not a law as such. Okay, now moving further, we should know few things about this Ho tribe. Who is this Ho tribe? What are its origins saying? So first of all, it's an Austro-Asiatic Munda ethnic group which is concentrated in Jharkhand's Kolhan region, also in some parts of Odisha, West Bengal, Bihar, and in small numbers we find the same tribe existing in Bangladesh as well as Nepal. If you see their language, this Ho language, they speak Ho language. Tribal, the name of the tribe is also Ho, language name is also Ho. And the script is Devanagari, Latin, and this Warang city. It's a local script that they have started. If you see the history, they are present in India since last 3,500 to 4,000 years. So now they're Indians only. You can't say they're migrants as such. But if you see the history, they have migrated from Southeast Asia to the Indian part. Okay, they have participated in this coal uprising and this 1857 revolt under this Raja of Purahat. They have participated in this revolt also. They have a long tradition of resisting all these people. Earlier Mughals tried to take control, they revolted. Marathas tried to take control, they revolted. And then Britishers tried, there also they revolted. So you can see the long history. And right now Indian government tries, there also they will show some kind of revolt. That's obvious, we can understand. If you see their society and culture, this Manki Munda system is quite important for them. They have some festivals also like this Mage Parab, Ba Parab, Sohrai, Jomnama Parab. All these are good festivals. Then for dance and music also they go for many performances. For example, this Akhra, yes, village ground, there they perform such things. Then economy and forest. 80% of the people belonging to this Ho tribe over here, they are in the agriculture. 80%. They are tribal groups and they are considered to be the first adopters or early adopters of settled farming. Tribals were not farmers. They became farmers and they are the earlier adopters is what we can see. Some of the people are also engaged in some mining activities also, and many still depend on the forest, this sal forest or teak plantation, etc. All these are important facts about Ho community. Earlier in the previous year questions, if you check prelims PYQs, there you will find mention of Ho community. It's an important one. Please remember the facts. These are important. Okay. Now comes the next news item related to Scarborough Shoal dispute. Just one second. Now see, we have this country called Philippines. Here in the map you see this is Philippines, right? This is your China. Here you see other countries also like Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, etc. Here is the Philippines. Now we are talking about Scarborough Shoal, which has become a territory of conflict between China and Philippines. China said, what we will do is, we will set up a natural reserve, a nature reserve. You can call it some kind of a reserve like wildlife sanctuary or something, whatever. Some kind of nature reserve they are going to set up in Scarborough Shoal. Who is constructing this or who is making this? China. In Scarborough Shoal. Philippines says this Scarborough Shoal belongs to Philippines and not China. Now actually this conflict is about the major move made by China with respect to the region of South China Sea. China says that substantial portion of this South China Sea, you see this is this region full of water, this is South China Sea. China says substantial portion of South China Sea belongs to China. This is its territory and it doesn't belong to these countries like Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia. So many countries are there over here. Every country has exclusive economic zone. You see, we have this treaty called UN-Clause Treaty. Under the UN-Clause Treaty, we have something called exclusive economic zone till 200 nautical miles. Right? Every country has that from their coastal area, wherever their coastal area starts, from there till 200 nautical miles. We say that this is the exclusive economic area or exclusive economic zone of that area. They can exploit or they can use that area for some kind of resource exploitation or mineral exploitation, etc. But the point is, China is saying this part, China actually drew this line called as 9-dash line. See, this is dash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They brought this 9 lines and through this they said this much part belongs to China. The moment you say this much part belongs to China, there are some islands in the region like this Paracel Islands, Scarborough Shoal, Spratly Islands. China is claiming that all of these belong to China. And here comes the problem with the neighboring countries. All these neighboring countries, they find it as a problematic stuff, or for them, their sovereignty is getting challenged because of China. Obviously, China is doing this because China has become quite powerful, and these countries are not that powerful, so they're not able to, they're frustrated how to fight with China. The same UN Clause Treaty has said that this belongs to us. How can you say this thing? But still things are continuing. This Scarborough Shoal, it's a triangular atoll located 200 kilometers from the coast of Philippines, which we can see over here very clearly. Okay, it is in the range of 200 kilometers or 200 kilometers from Philippines. And if we go by the logic of exclusive economic zone under UN Clause Treaty, then it belongs to Philippines. And it's not like just Philippines is claiming it. Philippines actually went to the court asking for some mediation, like this 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration. They gave their judgment in that they said it doesn't belong to China, it belongs to this Philippines. So Philippines has the right. China actually said it still belongs to us. Even after this court's arbitration or whatever judgment they gave, China said, we do not accept this. Simply. So this is creating a lot of tension is what we can understand, especially in the region. And all these countries, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, they are also facing problem. It's not only Philippines. Although with respect to Scarborough Shoal, it's the Philippines who is affected. But when we talk about this entire line created by China, this 9-dash line, this creates problem for other countries because again you see, Malaysia is here or Vietnam is here, their exclusive economic zone, that also gets violated over here. So this is a problematic and a very conflicting zone is what we can see, a conflicting problem that we can observe. Now specifically about this Scarborough Shoal, it has got some economic value because this part is quite rich in the fish stocks. You can get a lot of fishes over here. Economically it would be very good. It provides natural shelter for vessels. So if you have some vehicles and all like this, if your navies are using any vessels, any aircraft carrier you call it, or any, what we call them, that having ships with some warheads, they can easily go there. So economically also and for your military ships also, this is a good area is what we can see. and it has a strategic location near the vital shipping lanes where this much of trade happens annually. 3 trillion US dollar trade happens in the nearby region, and this is located exactly over there. So whoever controls, let's say if China controls this Scarborough Shoal, it gives China geopolitical advantage and military advantage in the particular region. So we can say that why China is doing to get this geopolitical and military edge over other countries. That's why China is trying to do all this. This is something we need to understand, and that's how this topic becomes quite important, quite relevant for us to study. And this is a continuing dispute. You see, in 2016 this judgment came. Before that the issue started. It is still continuing. So it is going to stay in news maybe even for next few years. So you have to be ready for the same. Okay? So that's all for today's part when we have covered this weekly current affairs. So if you have any doubts, please ask. I'll wait for just 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Please ask if you have any doubts. Yes, anyone, any doubt? Please ask. No? Okay then, thank you so much for joining.